Okay, welcome everybody, and welcome to our new presentation, which we are going to talk about the A320 SRM. And question is, why is it so complicated? Why is the A320 or basically Airbus SRMs so complicated? And why do people find it so hard to navigate? So if we all know that every gram of weight in an aircraft counts. So aircraft skins, although made from aluminium alloy, they weigh tons when you add all the skins together. So if designers were ever to try to reduce the weight without compromising the structural integrity of the aircraft, this is where they would do it. So if you can imagine the thinnest skin that could survive a 1G flight, or what's a 1G flight? A straight and level flight with no side loads, with no effect on it. Okay. And we're going to call this, or this is called the flight loads thickness. Okay. We're going to give it a dimension, measure it, and call it 1 millimeter thickness for the purpose of this exercise. Okay. I'm not saying all the skins flight loads are 1 millimeter thick. This is just to make the exercise work. So 1 millimeter of thickness if the skin was uniform down the aircraft. But this would be useless if there was any other case than the 1G scenario, like we explained. So designers have to give it some structural strength, these skin panels. So how do they do that? Exactly. They add some more skin to the existing 1 millimeter skin. So you can see here we've added a half a millimeter on the 1 millimeter. So the total skin thickness now is a 1.5 millimeter skin to comply with its limit loads. So I've got a thicker, albeit heavier skin, but the damage tolerance on it is 0. I've got no damage tolerance. This means a smaller scratch on the skin and I'm no longer airworthy. So what do? You guessed it. I add more skin. And here we have a new picture. And this is called the ultimate loads now, which is the third edition or the second addition to the original skin. And we call it the ultimate loads thickness. So by increasing now the thickness by a factor of 150% or 1.5, I've made the skin 1.5 times safer. So the new dimension now is 1.5 millimeters times 150%. That would be, I don't think that's the amount. The amount would be 2.25 millimeters. Okay, just keep it like this, just for the purpose of this exercise. Doesn't matter the amount. We're talking about the principle. So ultimate loads now follow for permanent structural deformation, but no failure. Okay, so a dent with no material missing would be all right. So if the skin was pressed in, but intact, that would be all right. But if you had a cut, graze, gouge, perforation, anything higher than a dent, okay, with any material missing, then the remaining thickness would not meet the ultimate load requirements, okay, because you would be chewing into the pink area here. So in this scenario, every case we'd have, okay, above a dent, we would need to put a repair on. And that, of course, would cause delays, cancellations, every little amount, okay, would not meet the ultimate loads requirements for the SRM, and therefore we would have to make a permanent repair or a repair over the affected area every time. You can imagine the amount of patches that would follow around the aircraft and the amount of delays, cancellations of flights. This would be enormous. So what do? Let's just go ahead and put an extra layer on all the skins, okay? And this is now the actual thickness, including the design margins with a bit of fat, the blue bit, or the magenta bit, or no, the cyan bit, sorry, here. Okay. And this allows for minor damages that do not require repair every time, right? So we can, you sometimes read in the SRM, oh, damage, it's within the SRM limits. It's because it hasn't reached the pink bit. It's within this protected area here. But the skin is so thick now, and by default, so heavy, that if all the skins were like this, no aircraft would ever get off the ground. So what did the designers do for that? They risk assessed the whole skin and determined areas where they could afford to remove some skin. Okay, so they, over thousands and thousands and thousands of flight hours, they've seen a particular skin. So this, I excuse my makeshift drawing, but this is a skin panel. Okay, and what they do is they mill out areas, squares, or rectangles or shapes where they can afford to have less skin because through the ages, that's proven an area of less risk of getting damaged. Okay, so if you think about it, let's say the roof skin on a 320 is really, really, really thin because it doesn't have to be thick because it doesn't get damaged, if you can think of that. Whereas the sides, especially around the cargo areas, around the door areas, are extra thick because that's the areas where the highest risk of damage is from GSE, from the stairs, from the loading, loaders, everything. It is where it happens. So they start milling out these areas, and you have a thickness table with the different areas. Okay, so you got the shiny and nice and shiny outside, which has the damage, and the milled out sections on the inside, which has the limits. And you have to match up both together, and that's where it becomes confusing. So if you want to see a proper drawing that's a bit better than my one, here is an actual drawing from the SRM with this skin panel here, depicting the skin panel as it is. And of course, you see it from the inside. This is what's on the inside, full of sidewalls, full of cabins, full of cargo panels, everything. And this is what is seen on the outside with the actual damage on it. So you have to locate. The object is to locate the damage in terms of how many, which frame it is and which stringer. And depending on certain provisos, first of all, locate the area and then assess the thickness in that area and make sure the percentage of damage, yeah, is allowable or not within the SRM. And this is why it's so confusing. But it doesn't end there. It becomes even more confusing because along the production of the 320 and the risk assessment process, they decided, oh, we can mill some more area off here and some more area off here and some more area off here because it's proven that these areas never have damage. So at certain intervals on the production line, the skin part number has been modified and first of all, it's become a new part number. And second of all, it's got the milled out areas are different now. So not only do you have to find locate the damage on that particular skin, depending on the aircraft, MSN, the weight variant, and all the other additionals, effectivity and all that, you have to find the right part number of the skin for that MSN aircraft before you can start assessing any damage because the inside of it might have different milled out areas or will have different milled out areas depending on its production and its status. Okay, here is a picture of the same skin, but 4 different versions of that skin. Okay, and I've highlighted in green. If you see the green circle, here is the original version of the skin, and here you can see this area here, it starts changing, and this area here, it starts changing again until we get this. You can see this area here where they've slightly modified the skin, but it's important because if this damage is, say, here, okay, exactly here, depending on where which MSN you are and which mod status the skin is, you could be, this area here would have different limits here or here on different MSN aircraft. The same damage. Okay. And this is where it gets confusing. And that's why I thought I'd introduce to you this little scenario so you can see uh, how it's evolved and why it's such a complex thing. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you again soon.